Hello, dear friends. I want to share with you one of my absolutely favorite Rumi poems. I've been living with Rumi, in Rumi, for Rumi for 40 years, and nothing has been more transformative for me than this sacred, mysterious relationship that living in Rumi allows you. And it's my deepest hope that the quotations that I share every day will so inspire you and fill you with sacred joy that you too will come into a living, direct, naked, amazing, transformative relationship with the greatest mystical love poet, prophet of love. So here is 6 lines. They contain the truth of who you and I really are. The wine of divine grace is limitless. All limits come only from the limits of the cup. Moonlight floods the whole sky from horizon to horizon. How much it can fill your room depends on its windows. Grant a great dignity, my friend, to the cup of your life. Love has designed it to hold love's eternal wine. I'm just going to dive into each line because each line contains a glorious transmission from the superconscious unified state that Rumi was and is in, and is inviting us into. The first line, the wine of divine grace is limitless. And what that means is that at every moment, torrent of grace and mercy and empowerment is streaming towards us from the great heart of our infinite beloved. The nature of the beloved is this boundless extravagance of love that expresses itself as a rich and glorious grace that, if we turn to it through simple prayer, floods us and works on us to transform us. The wine of divine grace is limitless. All faults come only from the limits of the cup. Grace is infinite. The beloved is infinite. We are finite. And everything depends on how our cup, the cup of our being, is prepared to receive this grace. If that cup is full of mud, if that cup is full of scraps of illusion and fantasy and desire, the wine cannot be poured into it completely. But if that cup is purified by adoration and by prayer, then the whole of our cup, the whole of our being, the whole of our life can be flooded again and again and again by this all-transforming grace. Just those 2 lines themselves contain a mystical theology for the whole human race that would give, if the human race really attended to it, everyone such hope and strength and joy in the core of their lives. And then he says it in another way. He says, moonlight floods the whole sky from horizon to horizon. And what does he mean? In the deepest sense, he means that when you wake up, and this experience has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to many of you, when you wake up, everything that you see vanishes into a burning diamond white light and then reappears soaked with that light so that you understand beyond words, beyond dogmas, beyond concepts, that the whole of reality is a manifestation of the uncreated light of God, is soaked with that light. And that is the beginning of the great journey in God that the Sufis celebrate as the beginning of liberation. And as that journey deepens, the whole of you is transformed. Moonlight floods the whole sky from horizon to horizon. That's what eternal reality is. A divine light that's manifesting everything and living in and as everything and every process and every event. But how much it can fill your room depends on its windows. How much this light can fill your mind, your heart, your soul, your body, impregnate your thoughts, fulfill the deepest needs and desires of your life, reveal to you your mission, and then propel and fuel that mission with energy and passion and joy. How much can fill your room depends on its windows. So if you're living in a dark room with only a tiny slit of a window open to it, it will come through that slit, but it won't fill the whole room. So our task as lovers of the beloved is to, in a wonderful way, live in a glass house, a house of being with transparent walls open in all directions to the glory of the creation, to everybody we meet, to all possible ways of approaching and loving and celebrating the divine, so that this moonlight of absolute truth can flood us at the deepest and richest level at all moments. That's the level at which Rumi himself was living. That's the level from which this poetry is given, not just to the Islamic world, he was a Muslim, but to the whole world. And that's the level that humanity is being summoned to at this moment through this tremendous crisis that is threatening everything, but also making this level of unified openness to total reality possible. Terrible and amazing. And then, with all of that within us and boiling within us with joy, Rumi turns to each of us and says, grant a great dignity, my friend, to the clock of your life. I love that line, and I love it especially because of his use of the word dignity. I think what mystical experience opens up to anyone who is graced with it is an amazing sense of the dignity, absolutely everything that exists, and especially the dignity of being a human being that has a divine consciousness through original blessing, capable of experiencing such a revelation. So, what Rumi's saying to us is if what I'm telling you is true, and of course he knows it is, then the way in which all of us should approach ourselves, and of course everyone else, is to treat our whole being, our minds, our hearts, our souls, and bodies with tremendous dignity, because altogether they are the cup that can hold this extraordinary experience that never stops expanding in revelation and joy. And then that last line, which makes that dignity radiate at its deepest and richest level. And he says, love has designed it, the cup of your life, to hold his eternal wine. What that means in its deepest sense is that your whole being, your mind, your heart, your soul, your body, 7 chakras that you have as a divine gift in your body, the different bodies that you have, because you don't just have the physical body, you have the subtle body. There are many different diagrams of this, but actually we are surrounded by different subtler bodies that work on our body. And all together, being born a human being means being born capable of having the ultimate experiencing of witnessing the divine, feeling the divine living in us as us, and eventually through torrential divine grace, being transformed into a living, breathing, humble, creative, joyful, divine human being, just as Rumi was. So let me read it again, and may this poem be as inspiring for you as it has been for me for 40 years, giving me courage through many ordeals and difficulties to hold true to the dignity of my being and the dignity of everyone's being. The wine of divine grace is limitless. All limits come only from the faults of the cup. Moonlight floods the whole sky from horizon to horizon. How much it can fill your room depends on its windows. Grant a great dignity, my friend, to the cup of your life. Love has designed it to hold his eternal wine. We are deathless beings living a finite existence. But that finite existence can be expanded through love and revelation and divine joy into revealing itself as essentially and intrinsically infinite, each moment eternal, each thought potentially divine, each emotion an expression of the divine within us. And when we discover that, as Rumi discovered and lived it and spoke from it, then you and I will live human divine lives of great energy for love and compassion, justice, and great gratitude.